Let me create something that can be living and breathing.
The more tools that you have in your tool belt or your toolbox gives you access, because our mind is that if everything is all you have is a hammer, everything you see is a nail.
And we have to remember that our words are so powerful and they manifest in our lives.
There's wealth in the room. We have so much wealth within ourselves and amongst each other. So I say this all the time.
It's time for me to take back the pen of my story.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of letting somebody else write it for me.
Like, where did this belief come from? Is it internal or external?
Existing in life, but not really living. Releasing, reviving, and becoming who they were always destined to be.
Oh, yes, I love it. I love it. Well, hello. I am so excited to be here with amazing and wonderful sister, Nyabingha Zianni, and you are in for an amazing treat. Her heart is so genuine, so authentic, and she's going to be sharing a topic today called From Limitation to Liberation, which is actually the title of her new book. So welcome. Come on, girl. What do you want to share today?
Okay. Well, yes, my name is Nyabingha Zianni. I am a transformational speaker. I'm a spoken word poet, a community facilitator. I am a divine mother. I always say I'm a sister who wears many head wraps and she wears them well. And what do I want to share today? Well, I mean, I've been on a journey. My own journey of healing, of transformation, of growth, and just figuring out this thing we call life. And in that journey, I've learned so much. And a part of my learning, there was something that emerged called limitation to liberation. And it actually started off as a framework, me trying to figure out, how do I let women know, or let really anybody know about my journey? But I'm big on tools. I'm big on practice and not staying in the theory of a thing. Because when you stay in the theory, sometimes it feels too big. Sometimes it feels abstract. So I was like, okay, let me create something that can be living and breathing. Let me create something that somebody can pick up, see themselves inside of it, and tailor it to their own journey, where they are in their walk, where they are in their healing. Let me ask them questions that supports them going inside of themselves so they can do the work. Because at the end of the day, that's what our healing and transformation journey is. It's us choosing, making a conscious choice to do the work. Because when you go to therapy, when you go to the gym, when you get a personal trainer, whatever it is, you have to make a choice to actually do it. They can tell you, they can give you the tools, they can do all of that. But if you don't choose to, then it's not going to change. So I love creating tools that support folks in releasing, reviving, and becoming who they were always destined to be.
Wow. Come on. I love it. I love it. So for you, how did you begin? You said you came into this journey. What, I won't say catapult, but what shifted you to say, okay, something's got to change, or or getting to that point where your own journey?
Well, I think the foundation is my relationship with God. You know, me just getting to know God more and going on that journey of knowing that when I get to know God, I get to know myself. And in that is where the shift happened. I think another shift is when I got pregnant. When I met my amazing husband, Aubrey, he was definitely a big part of my journey. And when we came together and collaborated on this beautiful daughter, Afia, it was a lot of things in my life that I was doing that was not in alignment to what God was calling me for. And I had to ask myself, what are you going to do? You got a young woman, a young Black sister coming up under you who's going to be watching you. And you need to be an example. And you need to shift some of the behaviors and patterns that you are operating in, because you know that that's not what God called you for.
Yeah.
And it wasn't only that, it was also like, you need to love yourself. And you need to be honest about the fact that you do not love yourself right now. And once I faced and had that moment of authentic acknowledgement, which is the first step in my framework, I was like, okay, I have to be honest. I got to be truthful. And once I acknowledged and became aware of where I was, I met myself where I was at, and I decided to elevate from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay. So I love that, because just hearing, like you said, of the acknowledgement and bringing in self-awareness, because we don't change what we're not aware of.
We don't know.
And so in that self-awareness, then from there, for you, is that where the action steps started? But also you said the acknowledgement, because sometimes in the self-awareness, we might know it, but then we don't move on it, or we stuff it down or hide it or avoid it. How did you now, even like you said, your relationship with God, but I know some of those steps had to be scary.
All of that. I always say that, like, just because I acknowledged it don't mean I was ready to move.
Yes.
So that's a part of the process. And determining when you are ready to move and knowing that it is there.
Yeah.
And when you make that choice, it's like, okay, but now I have to actually start taking steps towards it. But I wasn't ready. When I first acknowledged it, it was like, okay, this sounds good, but what are you going to actually do?
Yeah.
And I think for me, the next step in my framework is challenging beliefs and reimagining our roots. So a part of the process is also pausing, that's that word again that we've been using, and really reflecting on the belief systems, the limitations, right? The different things that are stopping me from taking a step. What's happening right now? And who told me that? That is a question that I asked in my first book. Who told you that? Who told you that that was how you should believe? Who told you that these traditions were actually yours to have? Who told you that this self-perception was yours? Was it outside of you or was it inside of you? And when I recognized that all of these different things I was operating in was outside of me, then that's when I'm like, okay, now I need to go inside and figure out what's happening in here so I can shift what's happening out here. But it takes time.
Yes,
it's messy. And I would say, like, it took me at least a year or so to, like, really start taking steps and seeing a shift.
Yeah.
Like, if we're real about the journey.
Yeah.
But it's different for everybody.
Yeah. And what I hear is, like, is you're saying in that uncomfortable space is that I know I need to move, but you're
not always ready.
Not always ready.
And you can know, and here's what we got to do. We got to celebrate the acknowledgement. Because just because I'm not ready to take action just yet, the fact that I'm even in a space of awareness, that's something to be, that's something to celebrate and be grateful for. Because there's a lot of people operating and just existing in life, but not really living. So when you get into a space of awareness and acknowledgement, now you have a piece of the recipe. Right? You have something to start with. And when you celebrate that and acknowledge that, now you can be in a space of gratitude and you're not operating from a space of lack, but you're operating from a space of abundance. And so good.
I love that. I love that. Now, once you, as in your journey, and you've shared some of the points from your book, as you're in the journey and it gets harder than what it was at the start, what kept the movement, or what are some tools that you use to keep the movement going? So
the next step, it's funny how you're doing this, because it's like each step is just coming out of this conversation. But the next step is embodied integration, right? And to me, that means that it's going to be those moments where you don't have the energy. I always bring in my journey with fitness, my journey with the gym, and understanding that I was neglecting my physical, and it was time to start leaning into my physical, mental, spiritual, the whole alignment, right? There are moments where I do not want to go to the gym. I was just talking to Aubrey today. I was like, I had to, I have to talk to myself to make it there. And sometimes the workout is not as good as I would want it to be. But the key words that we always use is consistency and discipline.
Yes.
Because you're not going to always be motivated. You're not going to always be inspired. And that's the reality. Something I talk about as well is that spark of transformation. That spark is going to fizzle out. And then you're going to need to remember your why. So when I think about what is it that keeps you going in those moments where you just don't want to go anymore, is remembering your why.
Yes.
But I want to differentiate that when we talk about keep going, that's not a lack of rest. So let's acknowledge that.
Yes.
Because when you keep going, a part of you keeping on going and walking on your journey is making sure that you're resting and taking care of yourself and pausing when you need to pause. But that's not failure. That's a part of it. So there's a difference between giving up and resting.
Yes.
So that's something I want to name too. But yeah, consistency, discipline, and remembering your why.
Yeah. I love that, like you said, remembering your why, because that is oftentimes, or that's the motivation.
Yes.
Because sometimes the external, and I'm going to bring this up because this is one of the things that I talk about often, is how we can depend on social media with some a quote or this and that, but it really comes from within, and that why of really understanding that, because sometimes someone, this person is a motivational speaker, which is totally fine, but that true motivation comes from within. So I saw your face on the social media, so I'm gonna let you talk, girl.
Oh no. No, because I have my own toxic relationship with social media, and I'm really trying to let that go. But yeah, I think social media is tough.
Yeah.
And it's definitely important for us to be aware of our relationship with it, because when we talk about just that when we talk about motivation, sometimes we also go into a space of comparison.
Yes.
And comparison, what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And the reason why it's the thief of joy is you so focused on somebody else's 20th chapter and you have just started your first.
Yes, that's so good.
And you don't know what rooms they had to walk in. You don't know, I always say this, you don't know what scars they had to receive. You don't know what tears they had to cry in order to reach that space. You don't know what God put them through to get to where they are. And that's a reminder I have to tell myself, and it's a reminder I love to share with my sisters, because I'm like, come on now. And social media is not real.
Yeah.
It's not all the filters, all the things. You can put up a story of what you want your life to be and people will just believe it. So it's so important for us to be aware of our relationship with it, because it can really hinder our growth.
Yes, yes. I love the part you said, and thank you for sharing that about the balance in that and the realness of it. But even being able to, I'm going back to something you said earlier of my own self-talk or my own self-language.
Yes.
Like, what am I speaking to myself? It's funny, I have a friend of mine who is a personal trainer.
Yeah.
She's gone through her weight journey, and now she's weightlifting, personal training, and still she fights to go to the gym every day. And I said, okay, now I don't feel bad. I said, okay, it's not just me. But even that that self-talk, share a little bit, if you want, about that, because that begins to retrain our minds on the limiting beliefs that we may have grown up in.
Yes. I definitely still think it aligns with the embodied integration. And for me, my journey of self-talk has been challenging, because as I mentioned in the beginning, it was just me realizing how you are talking to yourself is not how you should be talking to yourself when you look in the mirror, or when you go into those dark spaces where you're sad.
Yeah.
And maybe folks, a lot of people use the terms anxiety. A lot of people use the terms depression. And I think when we get into those storms, it's easy for us to lean into those dark thoughts that we don't necessarily say out loud to other people, but we say it to ourselves when we're in isolation. And I actually have an activity that I do with folks when I facilitate workshops, and it's called the Weapon of Light. And I have them like write down on one paper all of the dark thoughts. That's the doubt, that's the negative things, all the things you say to yourself. And then on this other paper, we're going to write light at the top. And every single dark thought that you have, you're going to turn it into a weapon of light.
Yeah.
And you do it in a space where you're not in that darkness.
Yes.
So when you get into the darkness, you got a weapon of light from when you were in a peaceful space. And you can bring yourself out a little sooner.
Yes.
And that's just something that I think about whenever I find myself like in those negative moments. Sometimes it ain't easy to come out. So I don't want to like paint this like toxic positive picture. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But it's a reminder to me, you got to shift it in the moment. And Aubrey, I'm going to keep on bringing him up. He's really good at like getting me together. Okay. Because I will go into my spaces, even with like all of my practices. And it's a challenge for everybody to remember that we have to talk nicer to ourselves. And we have to remember that our words are so powerful and they manifest in our lives. And if we sit in that, if we sit in those thoughts and if we sit in that negative talk, it's going to become our reality.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I'm like, look, I got to put my leg up because, you know, when I'm talking to sis, this is where I be, right? I love this. I love this because I love the self-talk. And I want to go back to something you said about limiting beliefs or what we believe. Like, where did this belief come from? Where did this quote unquote or sort of identity come from? And is it internal or external? And so I want to share this one because, you know, we talking, you know, amongst us as sisters is that one of the ones that I worked through growing up was that no one ever said to me that this skin color was what it was. But what I would hear people say is that over there is good and right. And I would go, well, if that's good and right and I don't look like that, then my internal thoughts start to go, well, then I'm less than, or I'm not this, and you know, and that type of thing. So I hear you saying of even visiting what are those belief systems,
and revisiting those spiritual contracts that you signed.
It
reminds me of the book, The Four Agreements. Like once you say yes, it now becomes an internalized way of being. And now you're saying like, this is my reality, this is who I am. That's why the question, who told you that? And challenging these belief systems, because it's not always, let me throw away what I believe. Sometimes it's a shifting of the values. Sometimes it's revisiting, because a lot of people have their own relationships with church, right? But you know, I have my own relationship with church, but I still enjoy it. I still love getting my word, but I know like some of the value systems and the beliefs and just the different things that I experienced when I was younger is not in alignment with how I feel about church. So I have to revisit that and think about that and determine like, what do I want this to be right now? So it's so important to go back and really reflect on, where did this come from? You got to trace the root. And once you trace the root, now you can do some work to either decide like, oh, I need to uproot and I need to release this and let this go, or I need to shift it and nurture it. So it can be better for where I'm going in my journey and who I'm becoming and who I am now.
So good. So good. And even in that, because I think sometimes when we come to our place or space, and it could be an emotional, we swing the pendulum all the way to the other end and we throw everything out. Versus on what I hear you saying is that, how do I examine my life? How do I just begin to process, this is what's in it. You know what? I'm keeping this. This right here is not serving me in this season anymore, and just having the ability to do that. That's what I'm hearing. And it's such a powerful experience, because now you're giving yourself back the power that was taken from you. And now it's not like, oh, these external forces. It's not like I'm blaming everybody else for what's happening in my life. Like, no, there are some things that I do have control over. Some of them I don't. Right? Because life happens and certain things, it's not up to me. But the things that are up to me is how I respond. The things that are up to me is how I choose
to shift and reframe something that happened in my life that for so long held me hostage.
Yeah.
But now I don't want it to hold me hostage. Now I don't want these bars and this prison inside of my mind anymore. So therefore I'm shifting.
Yeah.
And I have the choice. I have the power. And it's time for me to take back the pen of my story.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of letting somebody else write it for me.
Come on, girl. I love it. I love it. I'm loving this dialogue. This is so good, so rich. And I say this all the time in our Black Women's Sanctuary is that there's wealth in the room. We have so much wealth within ourselves and amongst each other. So I say this all the time. I wanted to ask you to share a little about this journey. Like you said, knowing someone needs to be ready or nudged to move, what have you. But also, what does it look like to have community, to have the tribe, and how do we find healthy support? Like you said, I know we do the individual work, but healthy support where, I got my crew, and I'm gonna be real, I got my crew of girls, and these are my drinking girls.
Yeah.
But the drinking ain't getting me to where I know I need to be.
Yeah.
And so how do I don't want to just kick my girls to the curb, but I'm really trying to grow and heal, and then now how do I find some healthier support system?
I mean, well, to start off with that, I think you kind of touched on it already. And it's about putting folks into categories in my mind. When you think about your support system, like the sisters that you go out with and have fun with may not be the ones that you call when you're going through something. And when you are able to identify where folks fall in your life, it helps you more to not also have false expectations for people who didn't agree to that. Like, you want to go out? I agree to going out with you. I agree to go drinking and dancing, yes. But I didn't necessarily agree to be that shoulder you cry on. And I know it's kind of tough to say. And just because folks don't agree don't mean they're not willing. Yeah. So that's another thing. Like, just being able to nurture our relationships and ask consent when we want or need something is important. And then also being okay with the yes or the no.
Yeah.
When people tell you if they have the capacity to give you that ear, to hold that space for you, because we are all going through something and everybody doesn't always have it in them to give, right? And it makes me think about this tool that I was telling you about off camera, but it's called pod mapping, and we use it at my job. And one of my roles in all the things that I do is a co-director at the Collective Healing and Transformation Project, and we support families and individuals dealing with interpersonal violence. So a part of that work is doing and talking about support systems, right? And we utilize a tool called pod mapping. And this tool is so great for identifying support systems because sometimes folks need a little help writing down and fleshing out who they already call on in their lives. Because sometimes when you just ask somebody, who is your support system? They're like, I don't have anybody. But then when you ask them, okay, who do you call on when something happens? Who is the first person you call when you on your drive home and you got something to tell them about work? And then start getting them to flesh it out. And I think that's so important because at the end of the day, yes, we are going to heal. And this journey is going to be individual sometimes because we are walking on this journey alone at different moments. But then there are moments where we do need community. Yeah. And there are moments where we do need the village. And that's something that I had to learn on my journey. I had to learn that, yes, I'm going to do this on my own sometimes. And yes, isolation for elevation and all of these amazing things. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be by myself. Yeah. We are a people who thrive in the collective. We are a people who come from villages and tribes and communities who pour into one another so that we can all thrive. Yes. And when we can get back to that and understand that when you hurt, I hurt. Yes. When I am, because we are, it's a different level of healing and transformation that is possible, not only for ourselves, but also for the community. And then when we pour into our own garden, ooh, the community garden thrives inevitably, right? Because when we're working on being that example, now the collective can also just see each other in a way that they haven't been able to see each other before. And it's such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
So support systems are necessary.
Yeah.
Your accountability partner is necessary.
Yeah.
Calling on your sister friend is necessary.
Yes.
But it might take some time for you to release certain folks. It might take time for you to let go of certain people or to limit it.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe it's not that I'm going to release you totally, but I'm not going to give you as much time as I gave you before.
Yeah. I love it.
So,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. This is like really good because I'm sitting here. You know how the little game show where they used to lock your hands down and you can't move your hands. It was the $10,000 pyramid.
I don't know if I know that one.
It's a game show, but I'm literally going, Paula, don't jump up right now. Paula, don't get up right now.
Throw that shoe.
Yeah. Throw the shoe. Throw the towel. Like, girl, I love it. I love it because. And thank you for sharing that because sometimes we can be especially as Black women, I don't have nobody. Yes. I got to handle this on my own. Yes. And we can get in that place where, and that could be still some of our limiting belief system is that, well, I saw mama do it, grandmama do it, and I got this. When sometimes it's like, no, I do have a village and I can have a village and I can have this circle as I'm building and growing as an individual. So I love that.
And can we go back to the power of language? You know what I noticed?
What?
When I kept saying I don't have no friends, would you look at that? I didn't have no friends.
Yes.
And when you keep saying it, you're going to believe it because now you think before you speak, right? So it's in your thoughts and you're saying, I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have a village. And you're manifesting it into your life.
Yeah.
That's what you're projecting out and that's what you're attracting. But when you are calling in that village, when you are calling in those friends that reflect your light in this moment of your journey, now you start to see doors open. Now you start to see people come out of nowhere and God is sending you the folks that you've been asking for because you're using the power of your tongue.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. That is so true. I love that.
Yeah.
So we're going to start speaking different, ladies. I love that. Because, and so share a little bit more about your book. I want to hear more about your book. You shared some of the tools and thank you for sharing the pod mapping. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And they can find it online.
They can Google it. Yes. It's from the Bay Area Transformative Justice Collective. Okay. It's a simple sheet and they do have some questions that'll like kind of help you think about it more and they can just flesh it out.
Okay. Yeah. Because I like tools, you know, like you say, leaving people with tools. Yes. But share a little bit more about your book because your book itself is a tool.
It is a tool.
It is a tool.
It is.
And I'm a big person and we did this last year at our Black Women's Sanctuary Conference. Tool belt, toolbox. The more tools that you have in your tool belt or your toolbox gives you access, because our mind is that if everything is all you have is a hammer, everything you see is a nail, and you treat it the same way. So tools, I love it. So share more about the book.
Yeah, so this book, I have a habit of writing and then people tell me once I like give it to them to review, you write like 3 books in one, right? So I was overwhelmed by just all of the things that came out when I started thinking about this book originally. And then I was like, you know what? I saw a lot of success with my first workbook and how people really resonated with that. Because some folks want to read, of course, like that. There's a community out there who loves a good book club. And there are also people who are like, but I want to get to work, you know? So I created this workbook and I have like an introduction where I talk about soul food. And that's kind of like my storytelling aspect of the workbook, where I just talk about, I was watching a sermon, Sarah Jake Roberts, and she was talking about it's time to release recycled belief systems. And she was like, there's no more of that. There's no more time for that. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is soul food. This is nourishment to me, because this is exactly what I was talking about. And I just opened up the book with just talking about that journey, listening to that sermon, and understanding that, like, okay, I need some nourishment in my life, so it's time to shift. It's time to recycle belief systems, because I'm not in the same place I was a while ago, right? And then from there, I go into acknowledgments. I start acknowledging my ancestors and my elders and my teachers and my mentors, everybody who has poured into me. Like, this person you see today, this is God.
Yeah.
This is Shahrazad Ali. This is just all of the amazing people. Dr. Joy DeGruy. This is folks who have been distant. These are folks who have been close to me. Like, I'm standing on the shoulders of my ancestors, my elders, folks who've been doing this work for years. Like, this is not just me. I am adding to the expansive lineage and story of my people. So just making that known in the book was important to me. Because I want us to remember that, like, there's nothing new under the sun. We just find our way to put our little flavor on it. But at the end of the day, we come from a long lineage of powerful people. And then I go into just talking about the framework, breaking it down. Each section, each step has different activities and tools for folks to think about. I also developed a self-reflection model called the 3 realms of self, where folks can think about, when am I operating in my limited self? When am I operating in my liberated self? And also, when do I find myself in that limbo? That in between, that transition that we've been talking about. And, you know, just breaking it down, asking the right questions, allowing folks to reflect, because at the end of the day, people know what they need. They have everything that they need. All they got to do is activate it. And when you ask them the right question, now you're sparking something inside of them that is awakening what was always there.
I love it.
So that's my book.
Oh, yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I have the book. I have not delved into it yet. I'm excited about it because I think it's going to be one of our group projects for Black Women's Sanctuary.
I love that.
You know, and it's so interesting. I know I keep going, no, I want to save it for the conference. And I go, no, folks need it right now.
They
So
can build up to that and
Yes.
have conversations. It's an ongoing journey.
Yes, I love it.
Ongoing journey.
I love it. This is so good. This is good. I know we can talk for hours. I'm going to wrap it up. Share a little bit again if there's any questions anyone have for you, or what's the best way for them to reach out if they have questions or want to connect with you in any way.
I mean, you can definitely check out my website, www.nyabinghazianni.com, and we'll edit it and put it on the bottom. And also, you can always email me. All of my information is on my website. And if you want to grab my book, it's on Amazon, and it's called Limitation to Liberation, Mapping Your Path to Transformation. So there's that. I'm also doing professional development for different organizations, agencies, corporations who would like to bring me in because their staff is probably, like, you know, burnt out, struggling, going through their own limitations. And if they want me to come create a limitation and liberation experience for them, I'm offering that right now. Full day workshops, half day retreats, 2-hour workshops. It just depends on what their needs are. And I customize it to the agency's, like, you know, pain points, whatever is going on within their team, and they might need some support. I also offer circle facilitation. I do a lot of that work within my job at the Collective Healing and Transformation Project. So if folks are looking for that circle space to connect and deepen their relationships with their staff members or their team,
I love it.
I also offer that. And, you know, speaking engagements, if you want me to come in, do a keynote, or come and do a poem, or whatever is, you know, on my menu of offerings, I'm open to that. So,
good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking this time to speak. Women, we'll continue our discussion. And thank you for just being here. Thank you for being open and honest about your journey, and also sharing, and out of that coming and bringing us tools that we can use for our own journey. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
I know.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Woo! Awesome. Welcome.